So welcome to the show, Fluffy Hernandez. You are joining us here on Fight Court. I'm Din Thomas. That is Ryan Quinn. And you are Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And then right now, in my opinion, the best middleweight on the planet. How's it feel, homie?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That means a lot. So I've been putting in the work, and I'm glad it's getting noticed. You know what I mean? I wanted to go out there and make a fucking statement and be like, bro, come on. Quit playing with me. Give me a title shot. I'm ready. You know what I mean? That was my goal. And I'm hoping that Dana got the message.
So, I mean, I've always liked your style. I've always appreciated your style. But you blew me away. And I know the message boards like, oh my God, you guys are riding it. Because on the post show, I mean, we were really singing your praises really high. But you blew me away. Like honestly, I'll be honest with you. I said, man, Roman might be a little much. Roman might be a little much. And you went out there and I asked you this on the phone, but I want you to just reiterate. At what point did you know you had him broken?
Just like after seeing how fast he was and after getting hit by him a little bit on the shell, I was like, bro, I will beat the brakes off this guy because I knew he was going to be slower. So I just knew that on the ground he was super dangerous. So I wanted to obviously avoid that and just use the floor to like tax him and gas him out and then force him to fight and get back up. And plus, I owed you guys a show. Because it came like hurt the last time, and it was a bullshit performance, and I didn't like showing it like that. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do to win, but I wanted to come out there and make a statement and be like, no, I can shut whatever I want down. I can do whatever I want against anyone. Everyone I fought and they've said was super dangerous, can knock me out, and I've walked every single person down and fucking like had my way with them. You know what I mean?
Man, so all right, I want to work our way backwards. So that was the most vicious rear choke finish I have ever seen in mixed martial arts. It was downright offensive like that. So, did you just feel that he was so fatigued at this noise? What went through your head that you could just pull it back off?
I was just felt like he was ready to be finished, so I was gonna take him out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was
everything.
All right. So the next part now, me as a Monday morning armchair coach, like I know you have a great gas tank, and I know how dangerous he is on the ground.
If you feel that,
you were going to try to really weather him on the feet, which you kind of did. But you were so confident looking to take him to the ground, not worried, controlling him and everything. Was that the game plan right off the bat, or was I feel like taking him down? Like, what was the case there? Because that's what fatigued him. Sorry.
No, I wanted to beat him everywhere, obviously, but like I wanted to show that I can do everything. Like seriously, I can shut him down. Like I know he's dangerous on the floor, but if I want to put him down, I can put him down and just like gas him out. You know what I mean? That was like the goal and pretty much what we had planned, and I went and executed it perfectly.
Nice.
Are you in a garage right now?
Yeah, I'm in my garage where we train.
That's you train in the garage, right?
With the guys on Tuesday, we do, yeah.
Okay, all right. I was wondering about that. I saw like a clip with you guys in the garage, and I love that because it's not only just like a home field, but it's also a statement to say that like you don't need this extra stuff, like you don't need this big stuff in order to be a good fighter.
No, for sure. You gotta put in the work. You know what I mean? Yeah, I understand exactly what you're doing, but yeah, no, I understand fighting very well, and me and my team do, and the goal is to go out there and execute it in the most violent way, the way people like it to see it. You know what I mean?
It's like Rocky IV.
Yep, exactly.
So after Saturday, after you put on that performance, has anything changed for you in terms of, the media trying to get at you a little more or anything like that?
No, for sure. People are trying to do a lot of interviews. I've been having my wife set them up and like Dave set them up, and it's been cool. Trying to get a few out there so that, you know what I mean? So Dana White can get some followers behind me and keep me in mind for a title shot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All right. So there was actually a post on Twitter today or X that I thought was really interesting. On Point put together a middleweight Grand Prix tournament for the time. And I want to go through it with you, and I want to get your pick, get into as much or as little detail per fight as you want. The first fight takes place this weekend with Dricus versus Hamzat. How's that fight going? Who wins?
How do I think that fight's going to go? I think DDP is going to win.
Okay. All right. And what about Kyle Barrio versus Nasruddin Imavov? Israel versus Sean Strickland rematch.
So, like, where you
Strickland again.
Yeah.
First,
everything is literally structured.
Me versus who?
The Ritter.
Like, imagine doing
I always bet on myself, man.
All right, now the semifinals here. Dreyfus versus Barrio.
This is what I want.
I
This
think
is what like
I think that'd be a very interesting one, to be honest. I think that would be a good one, to be honest. I actually, as someone who would like to watch a fight, that's a fight I would like to see for real, because they're both very well rounded.
All right, so it's a draw, and they both advance to the final.
They're both dogs, so I would like to see that fight. You know what I mean?
This guy has an over.
So then, if it's a tie, they're both going to advance to the finals against you. Then who wins?
Yeah, of course, me.
Middleweight champion. Boom, done. Love it.
No, for sure. I'm ready for it, man.
Yeah.
Well, Fluffy, man, I think that you are in your prime right now.
You just kind of surfing,
absolutely killing it. I can't stop singing your praises.
I really get on the
about every day in the gym about just
So, like,
like
big ball,
your transitions and just everything you're doing right now is really at a different level, and I'm appreciating it. And I can't wait to see you fight, homie. I'm gonna be rooting for you, and not only that, but I'm gonna be putting in her ear, hey man, get Fluffy in there.
No, I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I love what you're doing. I think you're good for the sport. I love your aura, your positivity. You know, we got into this era of MMA where people just want to be the heel, the bad guy. You are Fluffy. You know, you are positive, and you bring the fight. So keep doing everything you're doing, man. We appreciate you.
No, we'll do, man.
All right, man. Stay healthy, and we'll catch up soon.
Definitely. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good
All
one.
right, man. Peace out.
Later.
Yo, what a performance that was! Like, because like that's how I like for people to fight. Like Marab does it too, but he was cleaner than Marab, which made it to me better. He was cleaner than Marab.
I didn't really feel he was cleaner. I felt he was a little bit more aggressive, and he was. I don't know. I just don't think he was cleaner. I just think that the activity was there a little because Marab, he does. I don't want to say he backs up. He's got like the fastest lateral movement in MMA, where Fluffy was kind of standing and but he was just the volume was so crisp. So yeah, I'm just not going with cleaner, but he was just so effective. It was yeah.
Well, I mean, the performance, it was a great performance. Anything else stand out to you that night of fights? I mean, it was some Elijah Smith, the knockout from Elijah Smith
Oh yeah.
was devastating. It was but you know what? Like the one thing I wanted to stress on that, and I tried to stress this on the post show, and I didn't have the time to really articulate it the way I wanted to, so I'll just do it now. And that is, we can't look at that. And I know most people will look at that and be like, "See, I told you, jujitsu doesn't work." And to me, it's the equivalent of like throwing a left hook and leaving your chin out there, and then
It
getting
was
knocked
bad
out.
jujitsu. Yep.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to stress that. And Chris Weidman was like, "Yeah, you're right. It could have been avoided because when you start getting lifted up, you have to hook the leg. Like that guy made a grave mistake. Like it was a really bad mistake, and that's what happens when you make a really bad mistake like that."
Even the start of it, like, and actually, it's funny. I did a post on the channel about power bombs in MMA and how it's happened before. It's not very common. Obviously, we think of Rampage against Serrano. I got called out.
Yeah,
by
Bo called you up from Gerald Harris.
And Gerald Harris. Gerald Harris sent me his fights about how when Gerald did it. So it's a reactionary move. It's not really it's a counteroffensive move because if somebody has a loose guard, like if they have a tight guard, you could do the lift. If they have a loose guard where they're going to put feet on the hips, you're really not going to be able to get that. One thing I found interesting though is usually, like I said, is it's really like like most times they slam and hope for the best and then a knockout happens. I saw with Elijah, he actually braced his hand on the chin so the head would land on impact. And it's like the evolution of the sport. It's a legit move. It's an MMA move.
Like when that happened, I was literally on the side thinking, please wake up.
Yeah.
And then like until they came back with the report, I was like, I hope this kid's neck isn't broken. Because that would have been just awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Well, you had a much better angle than I did. From where I did, it looked bad, but it didn't look like it was. I don't want to say that bad because it was brutal. It was violent, but it didn't. It looked like and I got to see it in slow-mo over and over again. It looked like that there was some shoulder landed with the head as opposed to spiking the head straight down.
Yeah, he didn't hit it wasn't straight on the head, so it was like on the shoulder and neck and back, but still just, I mean, Elijah Smith was on his tippy toes.
He
He
was
didn't
trying.
just like lift, like he went in two different directions. Like it was like he sprung back like a
Uh-huh.
like a spring, and he sprung back and he lifted him up on his tippy toes, and all the weight of both people just landed on my man's shoulders.
Yeah. Um, well, I'm happy that he's safe. I'm happy that he's healthy. But it was definitely an interesting move to watch. It was fun. As far as everything else, I thought it was a good night of fights. Again, like we talked about it, how I've kind of flipped on my view of the Apex, but that's something we're gonna end the conversation in a little bit. I do think these fighters deserve a bigger crowd and everything. But the last 48 hours have really overshadowed what happened over the weekend with MMA, specifically the UFC and the Paramount deal. So I figured we would get into that.
Well, hold on. So just in terms of like the whole Apex thing, right? So remember, let's just remember how the Apex started. Like it started because of COVID. So they were just trying to keep fights going during COVID.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, like they realized that it was like really beneficial. So like in the last year and a half, yes, year and a half, they've been expanding on the Apex. So the idea that everybody's like, oh, we need to get rid of the Apex, it's too small for fight. It's like you gotta understand that just 3 years of like it just they just started doing fights there like 3, 4 years ago just for the sake to keep fights going during COVID. Now all of a sudden people just expect them to stop or overnight have this big arena for them. Like you know what I'm saying? Like they expected that. Like they've been working on expanding the arena for the fighters, but all of a sudden we need to stop. They deserve a big crowd. Like they're working on that. Like it's in
Yep.
progress right now.
Yep.
So we need to make sure that we understand that.
For sure. And I do. And I appreciate the Apex. I love watching the Apex fights because if you look back, and I made this comparison time and time again, like look at this last one, Anthony versus Roman, 9 and 10 in the world. Like that's if that's a college football game on Saturday night, the whole world is watching. So like they put together really good fights and then really good matchups, and then the fights are really good. So it gets a little too much of a stigmatism, but I get where the fighters are coming from wanting to be on a bigger card.
Well, to be fair, most of them couldn't fight in bigger arenas, honestly.
Fair.
So
Very fair.
let's also we that's if that's the elephant in the room, then that's the elephant in the room. The Apex has a place for certain fighters that are just not marquee names and may
Yep.
not ever be, but they still deserve the opportunity to make a paycheck.
Yep.
Like some of them fights you could have taken on the road and expected people to pay good money to watch it. Can't take them on the road.
It's funny how, and now this is really peeling back the onion. Those fighters that can't make it on the bigger events are still getting paid more than they would make anywhere else.
Yeah,
The one,
anywhere else. Yeah, they're still getting paid more than they would make anywhere else.
yeah,
But again, I think the Apex is good because it's still giving a lot of opportunities for fighters to get work, to get experience. And I honestly, I do believe this. I think once you get signed to the UFC, you should have to fight at least 2 fights in the Apex, maybe even 3 fights in the Apex, because it's such a good buffer before you get to a big crowd. I think that what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Uh, it'll hit me before the show's over. Um, the little Asian dude, the real good jujitsu guy. And he had his first, he was on the Contender Series. He had his first fight in Australia.
oh, I know what you're talking about. I know you're
Yeah, the name I'm looking at his face, and he trained. Yeah, I'm looking. He trains here, and I'm in Austin right now. He trains here, and for whatever reason, I'm punchy. I can't think of his name, but he would have benefited from getting a couple warm up fights in the Apex because I think
Mhm.
he's a great fighter, but he just got thrown into the dungeon too fast,
Yep, fair.
and he lost his debut
Mhm.
against a guy who he should have beaten.
Yeah. Um, it's almost like a step in between the Contender Series the and the UFC. It can be, or even that's downplaying it. But like all it like MLB has single A, double A, triple A, the show. NCAA, college football. I mean college football, NFL. So there's levels everywhere. And that's fair to do it developmental. Even the NFL is using XFL as developmental now in some aspect. So I think that's fair, and it's good for the fighter. It grows the stock. It's but like we've discussed time and time again, people find a reason to complain.
So speaking of complaining, I mean, before we even get into that, there's a lot to really unpack with this whole deal. The UFC is now, it was announced earlier this week that the UFC and Paramount and CBS struck a deal $7.7 billion over this next 7 years for them to be the exclusive carrier of the UFC product. Then they'll be doing the pay-per-views and all the fight nights. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I
That
was
was out of left field, huh?
Yeah, that was that. I did not have that on my bingo card. I thought I was positive. I was pretty sure Netflix was the answer. And then I'm like, what if the UFC, because they can, what if they just really reinvent Fight Pass and just use Fight Pass? And I'm like, but that doesn't really, it's no matter how big they make it, it's kind of a step back. They want to go to these global brands. I didn't see CBS and Paramount in the picture, and I love it. I'm all about it. I love everything they're gonna do. And even I was texting my dad, and even though the Fertitas aren't involved anymore, I'm just how far this sport has become, what they bought it for, what they from SEG, what they turned it into now. A company, one of the biggest networks in the world, is paying them billions of dollars to be on their platform. It's really amazing. It's really amazing for the sport.
Yeah, maybe I'm just jaded for my history and knowledge of how this all kind of transpired. Now, I don't, I wasn't in a room during all these deals, but I just remember when, and I don't know if you were even at Top Team at the time, when like Dan Lambert was considering buying
There, I know
UFC.
the story. I wasn't there,
Yeah,
but yeah.
like SEG had it and they were selling
Mm.
it, and Dan Lambert considered buying the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like this,
Yeah.
it's just mind blowing to know that, all right, so he didn't buy it. Dana White convinced the Fertitas to buy it, and then how far it's come just from that, right? Just from that. And it's just really mind blowing to see how far it's coming, how far we've come, and we're still able to be a part of it.
The Dan Lambert UFC story is an interesting one. Let's touch on that a minute, because I'm sure you've had this conversation with multiple times. I know I have, like, where he got into MMA because of pro wrestling. He had someone in Japan that he would trade videotapes with, and you got to see this stuff. They call it Valley Tudo or whatever. And then it came here. He's like, oh, I love it. He started ATT. The UFC was being sold, and he was going to buy it. And he knew Dana. And then Dana said, hey, I'm going to buy the UFC. And Dan was like, well, great, just get my guys on the card. And because Dan just wanted to have it just to have it because he thought it was cool. And the UFC would have been at the Hard Rock once in a while, it wouldn't have been a thing. And what it turned into, and it's pretty insane. It is pretty insane.
Well, so he was going to buy the UFC, but instead he started his own organization down in South Florida called the AFC, which I
Yeah.
fought there multiple times, and a lot of us have fought there, like in between stints of the UFC. Like we
Mhm.
would go there and continue to get work, and we had some great fights there too. It
Oh
was
yeah.
amazing fights at the AFC. But just think, like if Dan Lambert had bought the UFC, we wouldn't be here right now.
No, no, no. And that's not a knock.
Honestly, there probably would not be MMA.
No, that's not even a knock on Dan. He didn't want to make it what it is. He
Right.
just wanted to have it there as like a hobby and
Yeah, for
this
sure.
little MMA thing. And that's absolutely true. And he'll tell you that. He goes, I'm happy I didn't. um, yeah, it is crazy how sometimes the best moves that are made are the ones that aren't made.
I mean, think about that. If Zuffa didn't pick it up and things had went the way it did, like if Dan had picked it up, combat sports as we know it wouldn't be a thing probably because the
Oh,
UFC has kept everybody else alive.
yeah, Dan had too much on his plate to battle with the commissions on how to get it regulated.
Yeah, for sure. He would have never went to bat like that. He wouldn't have went to bat to get it regulated and to get the rules changed and the finesse and to make it happen. So combat sports wouldn't be a real thing. Boxing would still be a thing, but there would be no bare knuckle. There would be all these. Well, we could probably do without most of the fringe sports. I just saw a new fringe sport the other day where it was like two guys with whips in a ring and they're whipping each other. Yeah.
I saw
No,
the
we
fighting.
we could probably do without some of those, but there would be no combat sports as we know it today.
this evolved everything. This changed. Even, jiu-jitsu now is growing because of it. Jiu-jitsu nobody would have cared about jiu-jitsu unless it
Yeah.
somehow made it to the Olympics, but nobody would have cared.
So UFC is now with Paramount CBS starting in 2026. Obviously, we're both advocates of this. Some people are not. What do you think would be what are some of the pros and cons to this?
Okay. We'll start with the cons, which is something that did cross my mind a little bit, but we got to let it play out first. Is people talk about fighter pay. And now it's not going to be fighter pay is not going to be worse. That's the other thing. It's not going to get worse. We just want it to get better. And I don't want to hear from the top tier guys how they were taken care of. I want to hear from the bottom tier guys. Did they get a 20% bump? Things like that, 10% bump. That's something that I hope happens. But other than that, I really can't see any downfall. People talk about, oh, no more pay-per-views, no more pay-per-view points. WWE, when they went to the WWE network, WWE had a pay-per-view model up until 11 years ago. They went to the network, and as long as you gave them $9.99 a month, you got every pay-per-view on the subscription. And they did fine. That WWE blew up. What happened was you got people like me who don't really watch it anymore. Oh, I'll give you $120, $100 for the year to watch the library, get together with some guys on a Saturday or Sunday night and watch this pay-per-view we don't have to pay for. You're going to see more casual fans tuning in like that because it's much more convenient. And sport's going to grow on that aspect. Plus, this is way like the plan. This is way more global than ever before. Actually, wait a minute. That part's not true because this is an American-based deal. It's going to gain much more exposure. But other than the negatives, I don't really see any other negatives aside from what we mentioned before. Is it really a bad thing that they do this? ESPN and Disney was much more liberal than I thought they were going to be with letting the fighters use foul language in the cage and stuff like that. I can't see Paramount and CBS going that route, although I'm sure some things are going to slip through. It's going to be interesting to see how that happens, but is that really bad? I mean, technically, censorship. I don't really care about that. We want to grow this sport. We could clean it up there if that makes sense. More people will watch it if it's a little cleaner, watch it with their kids or whatever. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, first off, let me discuss the whole pay-per-view points thing because that is probably the weakest argument of all of them in terms of, oh, well, now the fighters aren't going to be getting pay-per-view points. First off, only champions get pay-per-view points, or unless you have like it in your deal, which no one has except for like champions. Connor might get pay-per-view points because he's Connor. So in terms of this and the way pay-per-view points work, people think that you get pay-per-view points, so automatically you're just like you'll get an extra couple $1 million. It doesn't work that way. They set a number based on whatever the number is, and you have to do over that amount in buys before you even see a pay-per-view point. So, which is why fighters like Pantoja or Shevchenko or and many of the other champions weren't even getting pay-per-view points anyway. They could have if their numbers do better, which is why like Sean O'Malley, when Sean O'Malley fought on cards, they literally stacked the card for him so he could get pay-per-view points because they weren't 100% sure that he'd be able to do it on his own like Connor could. So the idea that these guys are going to suffer from pay-per-view points is totally false. And another thing with the pay-per-view points, piracy is so bad, it was cutting into the number. The fighters aren't getting pay-per-view points anyway because of all the people pirating. So all you people that are out there complaining and pirating, you are the part of the problem.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yep. One thing that might be able to change, how long is the Venom deal in place, the sponsorship?
I'm not sure.
Well, I wonder if that might change. An addendum might be put in place now they're not in ESPN, but I think if fighters were allowed to bet on themselves with this, because they have so much more exposure, that they can gain more and bigger sponsors, and that would help their managers. And I think that's something that could change. I mean, shit, the UFC could just put Venom on the wherever, and then, hey, you need one Venom patch, and just let the fighters do their own sponsors now and figure it out elsewhere, because they're going to have other avenues to market these sponsors and everything like that.
I'd be interested to see if Venom sticks around, like if the UFC gets another company, something a little bigger.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna start.
I hope it's not Under Armour though.
No, God, no.
Venom stuff is actually Venom stuff is better than Under Armour. I think Venom stuff is cool. It's just not a recognizable brand.
It's too bad Adidas didn't happen. I mean, it happened already because Adidas now might be pretty cool.
Yeah, like I don't go back to Reebok.
Yeah, Reebok. Yeah.
That stuff was trash.
Mhm.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they'll do like ponies or something.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna start seeing like the UFC fighters on some of the Paramount shows and stuff now, like Landman or the next Yellowstone that's coming out.
Yellowstone,
Yeah.
Yellowstone featuring Sean O'Malley.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally Sean Strickland material.
Yeah, Sean Strickland rather. I don't know, man. I think the deal is good. I'm happy to see UFC making moves more than anything. They're making moves, and I'm always curious as to what it's going to look like in the future. I mean, it's only gotten better for everybody,
Yeah.
so except for that pocket of quote unquote fans that just seem to find a way to make everything seem so bad about the UFC. Like, why do you even watch it?
Yeah, fans, tell us why you're mad. Tell us why.
Yeah,
Yeah, comment
why do
on
you
here.
watch
What's
it?
so bad? What calculations have you come to that this is so bad? Like, and why didn't you come to these calculations a week ago when the UFC was shopping? You know,
So, because my whole thing is like this, like they go, oh, well, these fighters are putting their life on the line for the UFC. It's like, yeah, but so does every MMA fight. Every MMA fighter puts their life on the line just the same as a UFC fighter does.
right.
So if you are mad at the UFC for their pay, you need to be mad at every organization. It's every organization. Plus, I don't think people really understand what all goes into the UFC's like the whole process, like the production and how much they actually spend and just and I mean I know this sounds a little and I'm not dismissing fighters, so and it might sound a little dismissive of fighters, but at the end of the day, they are kind of a dime a dozen. Like the majority of that 700 are kind of a dime a dozen because if we want to get rid of Apex cards because fighters aren't selling enough, then they're a dime a dozen.
Yep.
Then you're just admitting that they're a dime a dozen because it could be anybody in them spots. But when you go to the Apex, there are hundreds of people working to put on that show to make it what it is. And in terms of the fighter, it could be anybody
Yeah.
when they're doing fighting. It could really be anybody. And if people complain about it, like you don't know the difference anyway. It could be anybody.
It's so funny. I always said that. Like, what if unionization really happened with the fighters, and then they got locked out, like like baseball had the strike, and then baseball had the replacement players, and it's like people are still gonna watch these fights.
Still gonna watch them. They still gonna watch them.
They're gonna be more interested. Oh my God, look at these freaking guys going crazy in there. They just whack it, like rock 'em, sock 'em.
No, I do think, especially with this deal, as exposure gets bigger, and fighters start to really build their brand and are doing more, I do think they're going to get paid more. I think they're going to be compensated a lot more,
So
but the argument of, they should be paid more because they're putting their life on the line is weak to me because every fighter that fights in any organization in the world does as well. So then the money should be the same for everybody.
so let's talk about the benefits outside of the actual fighters here. I know that's probably the most controversial. Um, what that money is going to go towards. Mark Shapiro, which we've discussed and we kind of alluded to, the Apex. The Apex is being renovated. I saw that they're looking to have between 5 and 10,000 people for a seating arrangements. That's huge.
Hmm.
That's big.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting a lot back into the company and making sure that there's constant growth. They put
Yep.
a lot back into it to make sure there's constant growth and it's working. And
Hmm.
and I do think in time the general number will go up. Now I'm still okay. Honestly, Ryan, yeah, I'll scream this on the top of the mountaintop, man. I'm okay with the entry level pay in the UFC because I just, for me, I know how bad some of them guys and girls are. And I know that I think it's still overpaying some of them.
If the money's there, I'd rather see it go to the fighters. So I would like to see a little bit of a bump. But if they're not that good, get them the contender card again. Demote them instead of releasing them. Demote them to the contender card. That would be good for the contender series. Lost his last 3 fights in the UFC. Now he's fighting this 7-0 guy who wrestled at Oklahoma. We'll see who wins and gets the contract and goes back. Like that's
Well, no,
some,
what they do is they just cut you and then send you off to,
yeah.
LFA.
But I'm saying they could do that with those middle fighters. They could bring them back down,
Yeah.
make the 5-5, or maybe that gets made more now. Who knows? That I'm cool with the 5-5.
Yeah. I think I think eventually there will be a time where there are minimums, maybe. Like if like certain amount of fights, like if you have a certain amount of fight, there might be minimums in terms
Yeah.
of, all right, if you have eight, 7 fights, then you automatically get bumped up to like 100 grand or something like that. I think that is probably the next step. But the starting pay for me is fine.
Okay.
Whatever it is. You gotta earn your keep, man. You gotta earn your keep. Some of these guys,
12 right now, right?
I think so.
Yeah. If the money's there, I'd like to see more go to the fighters. That's how. But I'm not gonna die on that hill that right now.
I
Yeah.
would think so. I would think like if you start off with a 4 fight deal, right? I think that if you start off with a 4 fight deal, you win your first 3 fights, and then you're in a position to renegotiate. I think that there maybe should be some minimums there. Like your next, if it starts off at 10-10, maybe the minimum being 50 or 75
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your second deal. Like there should probably be some minimums in the second deals.
That's something that's never really talked about when everyone's talking about fighter pay. When it comes to renegotiation, how big of a bump it is, because it's very significant. When the UFC wants to bring you back, it's not just we're keeping you bumping you up. Usually they give them pretty significant bump. Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
They do. I just think that there should be minimums to that portion. Maybe minimums to that portion, but not the starting. You gotta, I think, because some people don't even make it. They don't even get past the first contract.
Yeah. They
I
take their
think that
short notice.
if you get past the first contract, then there should probably be some minimums so that it's not like, all right, unless I don't know, but you have to have a winning record too, because like if you're like 2-2, like you fought your contract out, you're 2-2, you won your last fight, then it's like,
Well, that's where there's gray.
yeah,
Did they take 2 fights on short notice? Did they
yeah,
do the
yeah.
UFC a favor? Like, are they exciting? Are like there's because everyone needs a dance partner. So if they're an exciting fighter, then yeah, give them that bump. But they got to prove it still. Like
Well, I be telling fighters, don't do this shit to do them a favor. Like that's the dumbest thing fighters be doing. They be
mhm,
saying, "Oh, I'm trying to do I was doing the UFC a favor." Don't do them motherfuckers no favor. Do it for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
good point.
Take that fight because you want to show the world that you're great. Don't do it because you're trying to do them a favor. They'll find a motherfucker to do them a favor.
True.
They'll find a motherfucker that'll take the fight. So don't think that you're doing them a favor so that you can have the excuse of. So, and that was my issue too, maybe even with O'Day Osborne this weekend. We didn't talk about that, but I think
No.
I felt like he didn't look tired to me, but I felt like he gave up a little early. I felt like mentally he gave up a little early in a fight that I actually predicted him to win.
Yeah.
And
One hitter.
I felt like he gave up early because in his head he had a built-in excuse of, oh, it's short notice, and I was just like doing them a favor.
He was flat.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought he looked flat. It looked like he was trying to aim for that power punch, and I didn't see anything else really. And it didn't come. He's like, ah,
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Like
yeah,
it's not in, I didn't get him out of there in the first round, so
yeah.
and then you can go home and be like, I almost got him, but it's short notice. So and now we all go, yeah, man, good job. You took that fight on short notice. And then then he's gonna be like, well, I took a fight on short notice with the guy, and now the UFC owes me it. No, don't take the fight then.
Could you imagine going out and just saying, yeah, I lost, but it was short notice, saying that 100,000 times over? Yeah, but nobody cares. Nobody
Don't
cares.
take the fight then.
Yeah.
You know, don't take like, yeah, listen, if you're not ready to take the fight, don't take the fight.
hmm
You know, but don't take a fight. And I'm picking on him, but I mean it's
Well,
a
you
very
know,
common thing. I mean, it's even if that wasn't the situation, but to me it just looked like he gave up a little early.
well, you also said in the past too, and I get it, like well, it's really more people that the UFC is trying to build. If they offer you a short notice, they're kind of like, hey, we want to know we could rely on you. So sometimes they must feel like, oh, the UFC wants to know I'm dependable. So they take the fight. But taking the fight is actually fighting and knowing you're dependable, not just stepping in the cage and weighing in.
Right, yeah. I mean, you gotta fight like it's not a short note. You gotta fight like it's like your life depends on it.
Yeah, because it does. Your career does.
It does. All right, what else didn't we talk about, man, before we get up out of here?
UFC 319. We got Fluffy's.
Any picks you want to change on this week?
Oh man, let's see here. Well, you know, my man Lerone Murphy's got a tough one. I still kind of like him in that fight. Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates is going to be a good fight. I don't really know. I think there's going to be a lot of slugging in that one. Jared Cannonier versus Michael Bennett Page. I like Page in that fight.
Yeah, me too.
Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Oh, King Green versus Diego Ferreira. I'm actually going to watch this on here. I'm going to stream and talk with you. Just that fight though. So if you guys are watching, come check it out. Watch it with me. I'm going to stream. We can chat. We could BS while we're watching the fight. I like Diego, I think, in that fight. I know he's had problems with speed in the past, but I feel that King's had some problems with power of late. So I don't know.
That's a tough one to call. I was actually thinking King Green. Just because Diego looked pretty bad in his last fight.
Did. You're not kidding.
He looked really bad. I was like, it was like surprisingly bad.
Not even connecting with body kicks. Usually you at least get a body kick checked or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stick with my pick with Green just because Diego just looked shot in his last fight.
With the main event, I feel like the 7.5 minute mark is going to determine who's going to win that fight. I feel like if Hamzat's going to do his damage, it's going to be in that first round and a half. If not, I think Dricus is going to figure it out and weather him. I'm going to lean Dricus. I think size is fairly big.
I think I'm still gonna pick Hamzat. I still think Hamzat
Whoa.
gets it done.
Hear that, Muslim fans?
Yeah, I've been leaning toward Hamzat these last few days rather, and I think I'm gonna stick with that.
What else is there? Oh, Edson's on the card. Versus Drakkar Klose. Yeah, it's a good card. I got friends going to it. They're pumped.
Yeah, well, I'll be working and seeing what happens. But I'm doing Rogan tomorrow.
All right.
Yes, I'm in Austin right now. I'm doing Rogan tomorrow.
You're gonna plug us, right?
Boys, me and Matt Sarah and John Rollo. Shout out to the crew. But make sure y'all peep that as well. So
You're gonna shout out FightCourt, right? You're gonna shout out FightCourt?
Absolutely.
And Ryan Quinn, Quinn.
Quinn. Quinn.
You're gonna say one N, and I'm gonna lose my mind.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. On that note, this court is adjourned.